Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. FC Barcelona. Futbol Club Barcelona, commonly known as Barcelona and familiarly as Barca, is a professional football club based in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. Founded in 1899 by a group of Swiss, English and Catalan footballers led by Joan Gamper. The club has become a symbol of Catalan culture and Catalanism, hence the motto "Mi equip est un club." Unlike many other football clubs, the supporters own and operate Barcelona. It is the second most valuable sports team in the world, worth $3.56 billion, and the world's second richest football club in terms of revenue, with an annual turnover of €560.8 million. The official Barcelona anthem is the Cant del Barça, written by Jaume Picas and Josep Maria Espinàs. Domestically, Barcelona has won 24 La Liga, 29 Copa del Rey, 12 Supercopa de España, 3 Copa Eva Duarte and 2 Copa de la Liga trophies, as well as being the record holder for the latter 4 competitions. In international club football, Barcelona has won 20 European and world titles, 4 UEFA Champions League titles and 1 European Cup, a record 4 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, a shared record 5 UEFA Super Cup, a record 3 Intercities Fairs Cup and a record 3 FIFA Club World Cup. Barcelona was ranked first in the IFFHS Club World Ranking for 1997, 2009, 2011, 2012 and 2015, and currently occupies the third position on the UEFA Club Rankings. The club has a long-standing rivalry with Real Madrid. Matches between the two teams are referred to as El Clasico. Barcelona is one of the most widely supported teams in the world, and the club has one of the largest social media following in the world among sports teams. Barcelona players have won a record number of Ballon d'Or awards, with recipients including Johan Cruyff, as well as a record number of FIFA World Player of the Year awards, with winners including Ronaldo, Romario and Ronaldinho. In 2010, 3 players who came through the club's youth academy were chosen as the 3 best players in the world in the FIFA Ballon d'Or Awards, an unprecedented feat for players from the same football school. Barcelona is one of 3 founding members of the Primera Division that have never been relegated from the top division, along with Athletic Bilbao and Real Madrid. In 2009, Barcelona became the first Spanish club to win the continental treble, consisting of La Liga, Copa del Rey and the UEFA Champions League, and also became the first Spanish football club to win 6 out of 6 competitions in a single year by also winning the Spanish Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup and FIFA Club World Cup. In 2011, the club became European champions again, and won 5 trophies. This Barcelona team, which won 14 trophies in just 4 years under Pep Guardiola, is considered by some in the sport to be the greatest team of all time, by winning their 5th Champions League trophy on 6 June 2015. Barcelona became the first European club in history to achieve the continental treble twice. Beginnings of FC Barcelona, 1899–1922. On the 22nd of October 1899, Hans Gamper placed an advertisement in Los Deportes declaring his wish to form a football club. A positive response resulted in a meeting at the Gimnasio Sole on the 29th of November. 11 players attended: Walter Wild, Luis Dorso, Bartomeu Terrades, Otto Kunzel, Otto Meyer, Enrich Ducal, Perry Cabot, Carles Puyol, Josep Lobert, John Parsons and William Parsons, and Futbol Club Barcelona was born. FC Barcelona had a successful start in regional and national cups, competing in the Campionat de Catalunya and the Copa del Rey. In 1902, the club won its first trophy, the Copa Macaya, and participated in the first Copa del Rey, losing 1-2 to Biscaya in the final. In 1908, Joan Gamper, now known as Joan Gamper, became club president in a desperate attempt to save Barcelona from extinction, finding the club struggling not just on the pitch, but also financially and socially after not winning a competition since the Campionat de Catalunya in 1905. He said in a meeting, "Barcelona cannot die, and must not die. If there is nobody who is going to try, then I will assume the responsibility of running the club from now on." Club president on 5 separate occasions between 1908 and 1925, he spent 25 years in total at the helm. One of his main achievements was ensuring Barça acquire its own stadium, and thus generate a stable income. On 14 March 1909, the team moved into the Camp de la Industria, a stadium with a capacity of 8,000. To celebrate their new surroundings, the club conducted a logo contest the following year. Carles Comamala won the contest, and his suggestion became the crest that the club still wears, with some minor changes as of the present day. With the new stadium, Barcelona participated in the inaugural version of the Pyrenees Cup, which at the time consisted of the best teams of Languedoc, Midi and Aquitaine, the Basque Country and Catalonia. All were former members of the Marca Hispanica region. The contest was the most prestigious in that era. From the inaugural year in 1910 to 1913, Barcelona won the competition 4 consecutive times. Carles Comamala played an integral part of the 4-time champion, managing the side along with Aim Chazura and Jack Greenwell. The latter became the club's first full-time coach in 1917. The last edition was held in 1914 in the city of Barcelona, which local rivals Espanyol won. During the same period, the club changed its official language from Castilian to Catalan, and gradually evolved into an important symbol of Catalan identity. For many fans, participating in the club had less to do with the game itself and more with being a part of the club's collective identity. On 4 February 1917, the club held its first testimonial match to honor Ramon Torralba, who played from 1913 to 1928. The match was against local side Terrassa. Barcelona won 6-2. Gamper simultaneously launched a campaign to recruit more club members, and by 1922, the club had more than 20,000 who helped finance a new stadium. The club then moved to the new Les Cortès, which they inaugurated the same year. Les Cortès had an initial capacity of 30,000 and in the 1940s it was expanded to 60,000. Gamper recruited Jack Greenwell as the first full-time manager in Barcelona's history. After this hiring, the club's fortunes began to improve on the field. During the Gamper-led era, Barcelona won 11 Campionats de Catalunya, 6 Copa del Rey and 4 Pyrenees Cups, and enjoyed its first golden age. Rivera Republic and Civil War, 1923–1957. On 14 June 1925, in a spontaneous reaction against Primo de Rivera's dictatorship, the crowd in the stadium jeered the Royal March. As a reprisal, the ground was closed for 6 months and Gamper was forced to relinquish the presidency of the club. This coincided with the transition to professional football, and in 1926, the directors of Barcelona publicly claimed for the first time to operate a professional football club. On 3 July 1927, the club held a second testimonial match for Paulino Alcantara against the Spanish national team. To kick off the match, local journalist and pilot Josep Cañudas dropped the ball onto the pitch from his aeroplane. In 1928, victory in the Spanish Cup was celebrated with a poem titled Oda a Platko, which was written by a member of the generation of 27 Rafael Alberti, inspired by the heroic performance of the Barcelona goalkeeper Franz Platko. On 23 June 1929, Barcelona won the inaugural Spanish League. A year after winning the championship on 30 July 1930, Gamper committed suicide after a period of depression brought on by personal and financial problems. Although they continued to have players of the standing of Josep Pescola, the club now entered a period of decline, in which political conflict overshadowed sports throughout society. Attendance at matches dropped as the citizens of Barcelona were occupied with discussing political matters. Although the team won the Campionat de Catalunya in 1930, 1931, 1932, 1934, 1936 and 1938, success at a national level evaded them. A month after the Spanish Civil War began in 1936, several players from Barcelona enlisted in the ranks of those who fought against the military uprising, along with players from Athletic Bilbao. On 6 August, Falangist soldiers near Guadarrama murdered club president Josep Sunyol, a representative of the pro-independence political party. He was dubbed the Martyr of Barcelonisme, and his murder was a defining moment in the history of FC Barcelona and Catalan identity. In the summer of 1937, the squad was on tour in Mexico and the United States, where it was received as an ambassador of the Second Spanish Republic. The tour led to the financial security of the club, but also resulted in half of the team seeking asylum in Mexico and France, making it harder for the remaining team to contest for trophies. On 16 March 1938, Barcelona came under aerial bombardment from the Italian Air Force, causing more than 3,000 deaths, with one of the bombs hitting the club's offices. A few months later, Catalonia came under occupation, and as a symbol of the undisciplined Catalanism, the club, now down to just 3,486 members, faced a number of restrictions. All signs of regional nationalism, including language, flag and other signs of separatism, were banned throughout Spain. The Catalan flag was banned and the club were prohibited from using non-Spanish names. These measures forced the club to change its name to Club de Futbol Barcelona and to remove the Catalan flag from its crest. In 1943, Barcelona faced rivals Real Madrid in the semi-finals of Copa del Generalísimo. The first match, at Les Corts, was won by Barcelona 3-0. Real Madrid comfortably won the second leg, beating Barcelona 11-1. According to football writer Sid Lowe, there have been relatively few mentions of the game since, and it is not a result that has been particularly celebrated in Madrid. Indeed, the 11-1 occupies a far more prominent place in Barcelona's history. This was the game that first formed the identification of Madrid as the team of the dictatorship, and Barcelona as its victims. It has been alleged by local journalist Paco Aguilar that Barcelona's players were threatened by police in the changing room, though nothing was ever proven. Despite the difficult political situation, CF Barcelona enjoyed considerable success during the 1940s and 1950s. In 1945, with Josep Samitier as coach and players like Cesar Ramírez and Velasco, they won La Liga for the first time since 1929. They added 2 more titles in 1948 and 1949. In 1949, they also won the first Copa Latina. In June 1950, Barcelona signed Laszlo Kubala, who was to be an important figure at the club. On a rainy Sunday of 1951, the crowd left Les Corts Stadium after a 2-1 win against Santander by foot, refusing to catch any trams and surprising the Francoist authorities. The reason was simple. At the same time a tram strike was taking place in Barcelona, receiving the support of Blaugrana fans. Events like this made CF Barcelona represent much more than just Catalonia, and many progressive Spaniards saw the club as a staunch defender of rights and freedoms. Coach Ferdinand Dorsic and Laszlo Kubala led the team to 5 different trophies, including La Liga, the Copa del Generalissimo, the Copa Latina, the Copa Eva Duarte and the Copa Martini Rossi in 1952. In 1953 the club won La Liga and the Copa del Generalissimo again. Club de Futbol Barcelona 1957-1978. With Helenio Herrera as coach, a young Luis Suarez the European Footballer of the Year in 1960, and 2 influential Hungarians recommended by Kubala, Sandor Kocsis and Zoltán Csabor. The team won another national double in 1959 and a La Liga and Fairs Cup double in 1960. In 1961, they became the first club to beat Real Madrid in a European Cup playoff. However, they lost 2-3 to Benfica in the final. The 1960s were less successful for the club, with Real Madrid monopolizing La Liga. The completion of the Camp Nou, finished in 1957, meant the club had little money to spend on new players. The 1960s saw the emergence of Josep Maria Fuster and Carles Rexach, and the club won the Copa del Generalissimo in 1963 and the Fairs Cup in 1966. Barcelona restored some pride by beating Real Madrid 1-0 in the 1968 Copa del Generalissimo final at the Santiago Bernabéu in front of Francisco Franco, with coach Salvador Artigas, a former Republican pilot in the Civil War. With the end of Franco's dictatorship in 1974, the club changed its official name back to Futbol Club Barcelona and reverted the crest to its original design, including the original letters once again. The 1973-74 season saw the arrival of Johan Cruyff, who was bought for a world record £920,000 from Ajax. Already an established player with Ajax, Cruyff quickly won over the Barcelona fans when he told the European press that he chose Barcelona over Real Madrid because he could not play for a club associated with Francisco Franco. He further endeared himself when he named his son Jordi after the local Catalan St. George. Next to champions like Juan Manuel Asensi, Carles Rexach and Hugo Sotil, he helped the club win the 1973-74 season for the first time since 1960, defeating Real Madrid 5-0 at the Santiago Bernabéu en route. He was crowned European Footballer of the Year in 1973. During his first season with Barcelona, Cruyff received this prestigious award a third time in 1974 while he was still with Barcelona. Núñez and the stabilization years 1978-2000. In 1978, Josep Luis Núñez became the first elected president of FC Barcelona, and since then, the members of Barcelona have elected the club president. The process of electing a president of FC Barcelona was closely tied to Spain's transition to democracy in 1974 and the end of Franco's dictatorship. The new president's main objective was to develop Barcelona into a world-class club by giving it stability both on and off the pitch. His presidency was to last for 22 years, and it deeply affected the image of Barcelona, as Núñez held to a strict policy regarding wages and discipline, letting go of such players as Diego Maradona, Romario and Ronaldo rather than meeting their demands. On 16 May 1979, the club won its first European Cup Winners' Cup. by beating Fortuna Düsseldorf 4-3 in Basel in a final watched by more than 30,000 traveling Blaugrana fans. The same year Núñez began to invest in the club's youth program, by converting La Masia into a dormitory for young academy players from abroad. The name of the dormitory would later become synonymous with the youth program of Barcelona. In June 1982, Diego Maradona was signed for a world record fee of £5 million from Boca Juniors. In the following season, under coach Cesar Luis Menotti, Barcelona won the Copa del Rey, beating Real Madrid. Maradona's time with Barcelona, however, was short-lived and he soon left for Napoli. At the start of the 1984-85 season, Terry Venables was hired as manager and he won La Liga, with noteworthy displays by German midfielder Bernd Schuster. The next season he took the team to their second European Cup final, only to lose on penalties to Steaua Bucuresti during a dramatic evening in Seville. Around this time, tensions began to arise between what was perceived as President Núñez's dictatorial rule and the nationalistic support group Boixos Nois. The group, identified with a left-wing separatism, repeatedly demanded the resignation of Núñez and openly defied him through chants and banners at matches. At the same time, Barcelona experienced an eruption in skinheads who often identified with a right-wing separatism. The skinhead slowly transferred the Boixos Nois ideology from liberalism to fascism, which caused division within the group and a sudden support for Núñez's presidency. Inspired by British hooligans, the remaining Boixos Nois became violent, causing havoc, leading to large-scale arrests. After the 1986 FIFA World Cup, Barcelona signed the English top scorer Gary Lineker along with goalkeeper Andoni Zubizarreta. But the team could not achieve success as Schuster was excluded from the team. Terry Venables was subsequently fired at the beginning of the 1987-88 season and replaced with Luis Aragonés. The season finished with the players rebelling against President Núñez in an event known as the Hesperia Mutiny, and a 1-0 victory in the Copa del Rey final against Real Sociedad. Dream Team. In 1988, Johan Cruyff returned to the club as manager, and he assembled the so-called Dream Team. He used a mix of Spanish players like Pep Guardiola, José Mari Bakero, and Txiki Begiristain, while signing international players such as Ronald Koeman, Michael Laudrup, Romario and Risto Stoichkov. It was 10 years after the inception of the youth program, La Masia, when the young players began to graduate and play for their first team. One of the first graduates who would later earn international acclaim was previous Barcelona coach Pep Guardiola. Under Cruyff's guidance, Barcelona won 4 consecutive La Liga titles from 1991 to 1994. They beat Sampdoria in both the 1989 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup final and the 1992 European Cup final at Wembley with a free-kick goal from Dutch international Ronald Koeman. They also won a Copa del Rey in 1990, the European Super Cup in 1992, and 3 Supercopa de España trophies. With 11 trophies, Cruyff became the club's most successful manager at that point. He also became the club's longest consecutive serving manager, serving 8 years. Cruyff's fortune was to change, and in his final 2 seasons he failed to win any trophies and fell out with President Josep Luis Núñez, resulting in his departure. On the legacy of Cruyff's football philosophy and the passing style of play he introduced to the club, future coach of Barcelona Pep Guardiola would state, "Cruyff built the cathedral. Our job is to maintain and renovate it." Reacting to Cruyff's departure, An independent protest group was organized by Armand Carabin, Joan Laporta and Alphonse Godel. The objective of the group, called La Réforme Bleue, was to oppose the presidency of Núñez, which they regarded as a corruption of the club's traditional values. Laporta would later take over the presidency of Barcelona in 2003. Cruyff was briefly replaced by Bobby Robson, who took charge of the club for a single season in 1996-97. He recruited Ronaldo from his previous club PSV and delivered a cup treble, winning the Copa del Rey, UEFA Cup Winners' Cup and the Supercopa de España. Despite his success, Robson was only ever seen as a short-term solution while the club waited for Louis van Gaal to become available. Like Maradona, Ronaldo only stayed a short time before he left for Internazionale. However, new heroes emerged such as Luis Figo, Patrick Kluivert, Luis Enrique, and Rivaldo, and the team won a Copa del Rey and La Liga double in 1998. In 1999, the club celebrated its centenary, winning the Primera Division title, and Rivaldo became the fourth Barcelona player to be awarded European Footballer of the Year. Despite this domestic success, the failure to emulate Real Madrid in the Champions League led to Van Gaal and Núñez resigning in 2000. Exit Núñez, enter Laporta, 2000-2008. The departures of Núñez and Van Gaal were hardly noticed by the fans when compared to that of Luis Figo, then club vice-captain. Figo had become a cult hero and was considered by Catalans to be one of their own. Barcelona fans, however, were distraught by Figo's decision to join arch-rivals Real Madrid, and during subsequent visits to the Camp Nou, Figo was given an extremely hostile reception. Upon his first return, a piglet's head and full bottle of whiskey were thrown at him from the crowd. The next 3 years saw the club in decline and managers came and went. Van Gaal was replaced by Lorenzo Serra Ferrer, who, despite an extensive investment in players in the summer of 2000, presided over a mediocre league campaign and a humiliating first-round Champions League exit, and was eventually dismissed late in the season. Long-serving coach Karl Rexich was appointed as his replacement, initially on a temporary basis, and managed to at least steer the club to the last Champions League spot on the final day of the season. Despite better form in La Liga and a good run to the semi-finals of the Champions League, Rexich was never viewed as a long-term solution, and that summer, Van Gaal returned to the club for a second spell as manager. What followed, despite another decent Champions League performance, was one of the worst La Liga campaigns in the club's history, with the team as low as 15th in February 2003. This led to Van Gaal's resignation and replacement for the rest of the campaign by Radomir Antic, though a sixth-place finish was the best that he could manage. At the end of the season, Antic's short-term contract was not renewed and club president Joan Gamper resigned, his position having been made completely untenable by such a disastrous season on top of the club's overall decline in fortunes since he became president 3 years prior. After the disappointment of the Gaspart era, the combination of a new young president Joan Laporta and a young new manager, former Dutch and Milan star Frank Rijkaard, saw the club bounce back. On the field, an influx of international players including Ronaldinho, Deco, Henrik Larsson, Ludovic Juli, Samuel Eto'o and Rafael Marquez, combined with homegrown Spanish players such as Carles Puyol, Andrés Iniesta, Xavi and Victor Valde, led to the club's return to success. Barcelona won La Liga and the Supercopa de España in 2004-05, and Ronaldinho and Eto'o were voted first and third, respectively, in the FIFA World Player of the Year awards. In the 2005-06 season, Barcelona repeated the League and Supercopa successes. The pinnacle of the league season arrived at the Santiago Bernabéu in a 3-0 win over Real Madrid. It was Rijkaard's second victory at the Bernabéu, making him the first Barcelona manager to win there twice. Ronaldinho's performance was so impressive that after his second goal, which was Barcelona's third, some Real Madrid fans gave him a standing ovation. In the Champions League, Barcelona beat the English club Arsenal in the final, trailing 1-0 to a 10-man Arsenal, and with less than 15 minutes remaining they came back to win 2-1 with substitute Henrik Larsson in his final appearance for the club, setting up goals for Samuel Eto'o and fellow substitute Giuliano Belletti for the club's first European Cup victory in 14 years. Despite being the favourites and starting strongly, Barcelona finished the 2006-07 season without trophies. A pre-season US tour was later blamed for a string of injuries to key players, including leading scorer Eto'o and rising star Lionel Messi. There was open feuding as Eto'o publicly criticized coach Rijkaard and Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho also admitted that a lack of fitness affected his form. In La Liga, Barcelona were in first place for much of the season, but inconsistency in the new year saw Real Madrid overtake them to become champions. Barcelona advanced to the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey, winning the first leg against Getafe 5-2, with a goal from Messi bringing comparison to Diego Maradona's goal of the century, but then lost the second leg 4-0. They took part in the 2006 FIFA Club World Cup but were beaten by a late goal in the final against Brazilian side Internacional. In the Champions League, Barcelona were knocked out of the competition in the last 16 by eventual runners-up Liverpool on away goals. Barcelona finished the 2007-08 season third in La Liga and reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League and Copa del Rey, both times losing to the eventual champions Manchester United and Valencia respectively. The day after a 4-1 defeat to Real Madrid, Joan Laporta announced that Barcelona B coach Pep Guardiola would take over Frank Rijkaard's duties on 30 June 2008. Guardiola era 2008-2012. Barcelona B youth manager Pep Guardiola took over Frank Rijkaard's duties at the conclusion of the season. Guardiola brought with him the now famous tiki-taka style of play he had been taught during his time in the Barcelona youth teams. In the process, Guardiola sold Ronaldinho and Deco and started building the Barcelona team around Xavi, Andres Iniesta and Lionel Messi. Barça beat Athletic Bilbao 4-1 in the 2009 Copa del Rey final, winning the competition for a record-breaking 25th time. A historic 2-6 victory against Real Madrid followed 3 days later, and ensured that Barcelona became 2008-09 La Liga champions. Barça finished the season by beating the previous year's Champions League winners Manchester United 2-0 at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome to win the third Champions League title, and completed the first ever treble won by a Spanish team. The team went on to win the 2009 Supercopa de España against Athletic Bilbao, and the 2009 UEFA Super Cup against Shakhtar Donetsk, becoming the first European club to win both domestic and European Super Cups following a treble. In December 2009, Barcelona won the 2009 Club World Cup. Barcelona accomplished 2 new records in Spanish football in 2010 as they retained the La Liga trophy with 99 points and won the Supercopa de España for a 9th time. After Laporta's departure from the club in June 2010, Sandro Rosell was soon elected as the new president. The elections were held on the 13th of June where he got 61.35% of total votes. Rosell signed David Villa, from Valencia for €40 million and Javier Mascherano from Liverpool for €19 million. At the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, Barcelona players that had graduated from the club's La Masia youth system would play a major role in Spain becoming world champions. On the 11th of July, 7 players who came through the academy participated in the final, 6 of which were Barcelona players whom started the match, with Iniesta scoring the winning goal against the Netherlands. In November 2010, Barcelona defeated their main rival Real Madrid 5-0 in El Clasico. In the 2010-11 season, Barcelona retained the La Liga trophy, their third title in succession, finishing with 96 points. In April 2011, the club reached the Copa del Rey final, losing 1-0 to Real Madrid at the Mestalla Stadium in Valencia. In May, Barcelona defeated Manchester United in the 2011 Champions League final 3-1 held at Wembley Stadium, a repeat of the 2009 final, winning their fourth European Cup. In August 2011, La Masia graduate Cesc Fabregas was bought from Arsenal, and he would help Barcelona defend the Spanish Supercup against Real Madrid. The Supercup victory brought the total number of official trophies to 73, matching the number of titles won by Real Madrid. Later the same month, Barcelona won the UEFA Supercup after defeating Porto 2-0 thanks to goals from Lionel Messi and Cesc Fabregas. This extended the club's overall number of official trophies to 74, surpassing Real Madrid's total amount of official trophies. The Super Cup victory also marked another impressive achievement as Pep Guardiola won his 12th trophy out of 15 possible in only 3 years at the helm of the club, becoming the all-time record holder of most titles won as a coach at Barcelona. In December, Barcelona won the Club World Cup for a record second time since its establishment, after defeating 2011 Copa Libertadores holders Santos 4-0 in the final thanks to 2 goals from Messi and goals from Xavi and Fabregas. As a result, the overall trophy title during the reign of Guardiola was further extended, and saw Barcelona win the 13th trophy out of 24 possible in 4 years, continuing their high-quality performance in recent world football competitions. In the 2011-12 season, Barcelona lost the semi-finals of the Champions League against Chelsea. Right afterward, coach Guardiola, who had been on a rolling contract and had faced criticism over his recent tactics and squad selections, announced that he would step down as manager on the 30th of June and be succeeded by assistant Tito Vilanova. Guardiola finished his tenure with Barca winning the Copa del Rey final 3-0, bringing the tally to 14 trophies that Barca had won under his coaching. Recent history, 2012. It was announced in summer of 2012 that Tito Vilanova, assistant manager at Barcelona, would take over from Pep Guardiola as manager. Following his appointment, Barcelona went on an incredible run that saw them hold the top spot on the league table for the entire season, recording only 2 losses and amassing 100 points. Their top scorer once again was Lionel Messi, who scored 46 goals in La Liga, including 2 hat-tricks. On the 11th of May 2013, Barcelona were crowned as the Spanish football champions for the 22nd time, still with 4 games left to play. Ultimately, Barcelona ended the season 15 points clear of rivals Real Madrid despite losing 2-1 to them. At the beginning of March, they reached the semi-final stage of both the Copa del Rey and the Champions League, going out to Real Madrid and Bayern Munich respectively. On the 19th of July, it was announced that Vilanova was resigning as Barcelona manager. because his throat cancer had returned and he would be receiving treatment for the second time after a 3-month medical leave in December 2012. On the 22nd of July 2013, Gerardo Tata Martino was confirmed as manager of Barcelona for the 2013-14 season. Barcelona's first official games under Martino were the home and away legs of the 2013 Supercopa de España, which Barca won 1-1 on away goals. On the 23rd of January 2014, Sandro Rosell resigned as president by the admissibility of the complaint for alleged misappropriation following the transfer of Neymar. Josep Maria Bartomeu replaced him to finish the term in 2016. In April 2014, FIFA banned the club from buying players for the next 2 transfer windows following the violation of the FIFA's rules about the transfer of footballers aged under 18. A statement on FIFA's website read, with regard to the case in question, FC Barcelona has been found to be in breach of Art. 19 of the regulations in the case of 10 minor players and to have committed several other concurrent infringements in the context of other players, including under Annex 2 of the regulations. The disciplinary committee regarded the infringements as serious and decided to sanction the club with a transfer ban at both national and international level for 2 complete and consecutive transfer periods, together with a fine of 450,000 Swiss francs. Additionally, the club was granted a period of 90 days in which to regularize the situation of all minor players concerned. FIFA rejected an appeal in August, but the pending appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport allowed Barcelona to sign players during the summer of 2014. On the 17th of May, in a game where they needed to defeat Atletico Madrid to be crowned champions of La Liga for the 23rd time, they drew after Atletico defender Diego Godin headed in the equalizer in the 49th minute, giving Atletico the championship. 2 days later, it was announced that Luis Enrique would return to Barcelona as head coach after he agreed to a 2-year deal. He was recommended by sporting director Andoni Zubizarreta, his former national teammate. Following Enrique's arrival, Barcelona broke their transfer record when they paid Liverpool between €81 to €94 million for striker Luis Suarez, who was serving a 4-month ban from all football-related activity imposed by the FIFA Disciplinary Committee after biting Italian defender Giorgio Chiellini during his appearance for Uruguay in a World Cup group stage match. In late December, Barcelona's appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport was unsuccessful, and the original transfer ban was reinstated, leaving the club unable to utilize the 2015 winter and summer transfer windows. On 5 January 2015, Zubizarreta was sacked by the board after 4 years as director of football. The next month, Barcelona announced the formation of a new football area technical commission, made up of Vice President Jordi Mestre, board member Javier Bordas, Carles Rexic and Ariado Breda. Barcelona won the treble in the 2014-15 season, winning La Liga, Copa del Rey and Champions League titles, and became the first European team to have won the treble twice. On 17 May, the club clinched their 23rd La Liga title after defeating Atletico Madrid. This was Barcelona's 7th La Liga title in the last 10 years. On 30 May, the club defeated Athletic Bilbao in the Copa del Rey final at Camp Nou. On 6 June, Barcelona won the Champions League final with a 3-1 win against Juventus, which completed the treble, the club's second in 6 years. Barcelona's attacking trio of Messi, Suarez and Neymar, dubbed MSN, scored 122 goals in all competitions, the most in a season for an attacking trio in Spanish football history. On the 11th of August, Barcelona started the 2015-16 season winning a joint record 5th European Super Cup by beating Sevilla 5-4 in the 2015 UEFA Super Cup. They ended the year with a 3-0 win over Argentine club River Plate in the 2015 Club World Cup final on the 20th of December to win the trophy for a record third time, with Suarez, Messi and Iniesta the top three players of the tournament. The Club World Cup was Barcelona's 20th international title, a record only matched by Egyptian club Al Ahly, by scoring 180 goals in 2015 in all competitions. Barcelona set the record for most goals scored in a calendar year, breaking Real Madrid's record of 178 goals scored in 2014. On 4 January 2016, Barcelona's transfer ban ended. The same day they registered 77 players from across all categories and ages, and both last summer signings Arda Turan and Aleix Vidal became eligible to play with the first team. On 10 February, qualifying for the 6th Copa del Rey final in the last 8 seasons, Luis Enrique's Barcelona broke the club's record of 28 consecutive games unbeaten in all competitions, set by Guardiola's team in the 2010-11 season with a 1-1 draw with Valencia in the second leg of the 2015-16 Copa del Rey, with a 5-1 win at Rayo Vallecano on 3 March, Barcelona's 35th match unbeaten. The club broke Real Madrid's Spanish record of 34 games unbeaten in all competitions from the 1988-1989 season, after Barca reached 39 matches unbeaten. The run has ended on 2 April 2016 with a 2-1 defeat to Real Madrid at Camp Nou. On 14 May 2016, Barcelona won their 6th La Liga title in 8 seasons, with a 3-0 win in the final day of the season at Granada. On 8 March 2017, Barcelona made the largest comeback in Champions League history in the 2016-17 UEFA Champions League in second leg, beating Paris Saint-Germain by a score of 6-1. Despite losing the first leg in France by a score of 4-0. On 29 May 2017, former player Ernesto Valverde was named as Luis Enrique's successor, signing a 2-year contract with an option for a further year. On 20 September 2017, Barcelona issued a statement exercising their stance on the 2017 Catalan referendum, quoting FC Barcelona in holding the utmost respect for its diverse body of members, will continue to support the will of the majority of Catalan people and will do so in a civil, peaceful and exemplary way. The match against UD Las Palmas on the referendum day was requested to be postponed by the Barcelona board due to heavy violence in Catalonia, but it was declined by La Liga, therefore being held behind closed doors. Two directors, Jordi Monés and Carles Villarrubi, handed in a resignation in protest to the game being played. Support. The nickname culé for a Barcelona supporter is derived from the Catalan colours. The spectators at the first stadium Camp de la Industria sat with their CULS over the stand. In Spain, about 25% of the population is said to be Barca sympathizers, second behind Real Madrid, supported by 32% of the population. Throughout Europe, Barcelona is the favorite second-choice club. The club's membership figures have seen a significant increase from 100,000 in the 2003-04 season to 170,000 in September 2009, the sharp rise being attributed to the influence of Ronaldinho and then-President Joan Laporta's media strategy that focused on Spanish and English online media. In addition to membership, there are 1,267 officially registered fan clubs called pennies. Around the world, the fan clubs promote Barcelona in the locality and receive beneficial offers when visiting Barcelona. Among the best supported teams globally, Barcelona has the second highest social media following in the world among sports teams, with over 100 million Facebook fans as of April 2017, just behind Real Madrid. The club has had many prominent people among its supporters, including Pope John Paul II, who was an honorary member, and former Prime Minister of Spain José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero. Barcelona has the second highest average attendance of European football clubs, only behind Borussia Dortmund. El Clasico. There is often a fierce rivalry between the two strongest teams in a national league, and this is particularly the case in La Liga, where the game between Barcelona and Real Madrid is known as El Clasico. From the start of national competitions, the clubs were seen as representatives of two rival regions in Spain, Catalonia and Castile, as well as of the two cities. The rivalry reflects what many regard as the political and cultural tensions felt between Catalans and the Castilians, seen by one author as a reenactment of the Spanish Civil War during the dictatorships of Miguel Primo de Rivera and especially of Francisco Franco. All regional cultures were suppressed. All of the languages spoken in Spanish territory, except Spanish itself, were officially banned, symbolizing the Catalan people's desire for freedom. Barça became more than a club for the Catalans. According to Manuel Vázquez Montalbán, the best way for the Catalans to demonstrate their identity was by joining Barça. It was less risky than joining a clandestine anti-Franco movement and allowed them to express their dissidence. During Franco's regime, however, the Blaugrana team was granted profit due to its good relationship with the dictator at management level, even giving 2 awards to him. On the other hand, Real Madrid was widely seen as the embodiment of the sovereign oppressive centralism and the fascist regime at management level and beyond. Santiago Bernabéu, the former club president, for whom their stadium is named, fought on the nationalist side during the Spanish Civil War. During the Spanish Civil War, however, members of both clubs such as Josep Sunyol and Rafael Sánchez Guerra suffered at the hands of Franco supporters. During the 1950s, the rivalry was exacerbated further when there was a controversy surrounding the transfer of Alfredo Di Stefano, who finally played for Real Madrid and was key to their subsequent success. The 1960s saw the rivalry reach the European stage, when they met twice in a controversial knockout round of the European Cup, with Madrid receiving unfavorable treatment from the referee in 2002. The European encounter between the clubs was dubbed the match of the century by Spanish media, and Madrid's win was watched by more than 500 million people. El Derbi Barceloní. Barca's local rival has always been Espanyol. Blanc y Blaus, being one of the clubs granted royal patronage, was founded exclusively by Spanish football fans. Unlike the multinational nature of Barca's primary board, the founding message of the club was clearly anti-Barcelona, and they disapprovingly saw FC Barcelona as a team of foreigners. The rivalry was strengthened by what Catalonians saw as a provocative representative of Madrid. Their original ground was in the affluent district of Sarriá. Traditionally, Espanyol was seen by the vast majority of Barcelona's citizens as a club which cultivated a kind of compliance to the central authority, in stark contrast to Barca's revolutionary spirit. Also in the 1960s and 1970s, while FC Barcelona acted as an integrating force for Catalonia's new arrivals from poorer regions of Spain expecting to find a better life, Espanyol drew their support mainly from sectors close to the regime such as policemen, military officers, civil servants, and career fascists. In 1918, Espanyol started a counter-petition against autonomy which, at that time, had become a pertinent issue. Later on, an Espanyol supporter group would join the Falangists in the Spanish Civil War, siding with the fascists. Despite these differences in ideology, the derby has always been more relevant to Espanyol supporters than Barcelona ones due to the difference in objectives. In recent years, the rivalry has become less political as Espanyol translated its official name and anthem from Spanish to Catalan. Though it is the most played local derby in the history of La Liga, it is also the most unbalanced, with Barcelona overwhelmingly dominant. In the Primera Division league table, Espanyol has only managed to end above Barca on 3 occasions from 81 seasons, and the only all-Catalan Copa del Rey final was won by Barca in 1957. Espanyol has the consolation of achieving the largest margin win with a 6-0 in 1951. While Barcelona's biggest win was 5-0 on 6 occasions. Espanyol achieved a 2-1 win against Barca during the 2008-09 season, becoming the first team to defeat Barcelona at Camp Nou in their treble-winning season. Rivalry with AC Milan. Barcelona's rival in European football is Italian club AC Milan, the team against which Barcelona has played the most matches. It is also the second most played match in European competitions, tied with Real Madrid-Juventus, and both after Real Madrid-Bayern Munich, 2 of the most successful clubs in Europe. Milan has won 7 European Cups to Barca's 5, while both clubs have won a record 5 European Super Cups. Barcelona and Milan have won other continental titles, which make them the second and third most decorated teams in world football, with 20 and 18 titles respectively, both behind Real Madrid's 21. Barcelona leads the head-to-head record with 8 wins and 5 defeats. The first encounter between the two clubs was in the 1959-60 European Cup. They faced off in the round of 16 and Barca won the tie on a 7-1 aggregate score. While Milan had never knocked Barcelona out of the European Cup, they've beaten Johan Cruyff's dream team 4-0 in the 1994 Champions League final, despite being the underdogs. In 2013, however, Barcelona made a historic comeback from a 0-2 first-leg defeat in the round of 16 of the 2012-13 Champions League, winning 4-0 at the Camp Nou. Ownership and finances. Along with Real Madrid, Athletic Bilbao and Osasuna, Barcelona is organized as a registered association. Unlike a limited company, it is not possible to purchase shares in the club, but only membership. The members of Barcelona, called Soci, form an assembly of delegates, which is the highest governing body of the club. The club has 140,000 Soci. In 2010, Forbes evaluated Barcelona's worth to be around €752 million, ranking them 4th after Manchester United, Real Madrid and Arsenal based on figures from the 2008-09 season. According to Deloitte, Barcelona had a recorded revenue of €366 million in the same period, ranking second to Real Madrid, who generated €401 million in revenue. In 2013, Forbes magazine ranked Barcelona the 3rd most valuable sports team in the world, behind Real Madrid and Manchester United, with a value of $2.6 billion. In 2014, Forbes ranked them the 2nd most valuable sports team in the world, worth $3.2 billion. And Deloitte ranked them the world's 4th richest football club in terms of revenue, with an annual turnover of €484.6 million. Records. Xavi presently holds the team record for most number of total games played, and the record number of La Liga appearances. Andrés Iniesta comes second, with 642 in all competitions and 420 in the league. Barcelona's all-time highest goalscorer in all competitions is Lionel Messi with 556 goals, surpassing Paulino Alcantara's record held for 87 years, as well as being the highest goalscorer in official competitions with 522 goals. He is also the record goalscorer for Barcelona in European and international club competitions, and the record league scorer with 360 goals in La Liga. Alongside Messi, 3 other players have managed to score over 100 league goals at Barcelona: Cesar, Laszlo Kubala and Samuel Eto'o. Josep Simitia is the club's highest goalscorer in the Copa del Rey with 65 goals. Laszlo Kubala holds La Liga record of most goals scored in one match, with 7 goals against Sporting de Gijón in 1952. Lionel Messi holds the Champions League record, with 5 goals against Bayer Leverkusen in 2012. Eulogio Martinez became Barca's top goalscorer in a cup game, when he scored 7 goals against Atletico Madrid in 1957. Barcelona goalkeepers have won a record number of Zamora trophies, with Anthony Ramírez and Victor Valdé winning a record 5 each. Valdé had a ratio of 0.832 goals conceded per game, a La Liga record, and he also holds the record for longest period without conceding a goal in all competitions for Barcelona. Claudio Bravo has the record of best unbeaten start in a season in La Liga history. Barcelona's longest-serving manager is Jack Greenwell with 9 years in 2 spells, and Pep Guardiola is the club's most successful manager. The most successful Barcelona players are Andrés Iniesta and Messi, surpassing Xavi. Barcelona's Camp Nou is the largest stadium in Europe. The club's highest home attendance was 120,000 in a European Cup quarter-final against Juventus on 3 March 1986. The modernization of Camp Nou during the 1990s and the introduction of all-seater stands means the record will not be broken for the foreseeable future, as the current capacity of the stadium is 99,354. El Barça de les Cinc Cops is the first team in Spanish football to have won 5 trophies in a single season. Barcelona is the only club to have played in every season of European competitions since they started in 1955, counting non-UEFA competition Intercities Fair Cup. On the 18th of December 2009, alongside being the only Spanish club to achieve the continental treble, Barcelona became the first ever football team to complete the sextuple. In August 2017, Barcelona signed Ousmane Dembélé from Borussia Dortmund for €105 million, the highest transfer fee in club history. In August 2017, Barcelona player Neymar transferred to Paris Saint-Germain for a world record transfer fee of €222 million. In 2016, Barcelona's La Masia was ranked second by the International Center for Sports Studies as the most top-level players producing academy in the world. Crest and colors. The club's original crest was a quarter diamond-shaped crest topped by the crown of Aragon and the bat of King James, and surrounded by 2 branches, one of a laurel tree and the other a palm. In 1910, the club held a competition among its members to design a new crest. The winner was Carlos Comamala, who at the time played for the club. Comamala's suggestion became the crest that the club wears today, with some minor variations. The crest consists of the St. George cross in the upper left corner with the Catalan flag beside it, and the team colours at the bottom. The blue, and red colors of the shirt were first worn in a match against Hispania in 1900. Several competing theories have been put forth for the blue and red design of the Barcelona shirt. The son of the first president, Arthur Whitty, claimed it was the idea of his father, as the colors were the same as the Merchant Taylors school team. Another explanation, according to author Tony Strubel, is that the colors are from Robespierre's First Republic. In Catalonia, the common perception is that the colors were chosen by Joan Gamper and are those of his home team FC Basel. The club's most frequently used change colors have been yellow and orange. An away kit featuring the red and yellow stripes of the flag of Catalonia has also been used many times. Kit manufacturers and shirt sponsors. Prior to the 2011-2012 season, Barcelona had a long history of avoiding corporate sponsorship on the playing shirts. On 14 July 2006, the club announced a 5-year agreement with UNICEF, which includes having the UNICEF logo on the shirts. The agreement had the club donate €1.5 million per year to UNICEF via the FC Barcelona Foundation. The FC Barcelona Foundation is an entity set up in 1994 on the suggestion of then-chairman of the Economical Statutory Committee, Jaume Aluja. The idea was to set up a foundation that could attract financial sponsorships to support a non-profit sport company. In 2004, a company could become one of 25 honorary members by contributing between £40,000 and £60,000 per year. There are also 48 associate memberships available for an annual fee of £14,000, and an unlimited number of patronages for the cost of £4,000 per year. It is unclear whether the honorary members have any formal say in club policy, but according to the author Anthony King, it is unlikely that honorary membership would not involve at least some informal influence over the club. Barcelona ended their refusal of corporate sponsorship prior to the commencement of the 2011-12 season, signing a 5-year €150 million deal with Qatar Sports Investments that meant the Qatar Foundation was on the club's shirt for the 2011-12 and 2012-13 seasons, then replaced by Qatar Airways for the 2013-14 season. The deal allowing for a commercial sponsor logo to replace the charity logo. 2 years into the 6-year deal, the deal with Qatar Airways was extended for 1 more year in 2016. On 16 November 2016, Rakuten signed a $200 million deal for global sponsorship with FC Barcelona. It will replace Qatar Airways as the main shirt sponsor till 2020, starting from the 2017-18 season. Stadium. Barcelona initially played in the Camp de la Industria. The capacity was about 6,000. And club officials deemed the facilities inadequate for a club with growing membership. In 1922, the number of supporters had surpassed 20,000, and by lending money to the club, Barca was able to build a larger Camp de les Corts, which had an initial capacity of 20,000 spectators. After the Spanish Civil War, the club started attracting more members and a larger number of spectators at matches. This led to several expansion projects: the Grandstand in 1944, the Southern Stand in 1946, and finally the Northern Stand in 1950. After the last expansion, Les Corts could hold 60,000 spectators. After the construction was complete, there was no further room for expansion at Les Corts. Back-to-back La Liga titles in 1948 and 1949, and the signing of Laszlo Kubala in June 1950, who would later go on to score 196 goals in 256 matches, drew larger crowds to the games. the club began to make plans for a new stadium. The building of Camp Nou commenced on 28 March 1954 before a crowd of 60,000 Barça fans. The first stone of the future stadium was laid in place under the auspices of Governor Felipe Acevedo Colunga and with the blessing of Archbishop of Barcelona Gregorio Modrego. Construction took 3 years and ended on 24 September 1957. With a final cost of 288 million pesetas, 336% over budget. In 1980, when the stadium was in need of redesign to meet UEFA criteria, the club raised money by offering supporters the opportunity to inscribe their name on the bricks for a small fee. The idea was popular with supporters and thousands of people paid the fee. Later this became the center of controversy, when media in Madrid picked up reports that one of the stones was inscribed with the name of longtime Real Madrid chairman and Franco supporter Santiago Bernabeu. In preparation for the 1992 Summer Olympics, 2 tiers of seating were installed above the previous roofline. It has a current capacity of 99,354, making it the largest stadium in Europe. There are also other facilities which include players. Spanish teams are limited to 3 players without EU citizenship. The squad list includes only the principal nationality of each player. Several non-European players on the squad have dual citizenship with an EU country. Also, players from the ACP countries that are signatories to the Cotonou Agreement are not counted against non-EU quotas due to the Colpack ruling. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Would you like to know more?